Hey there, everyone. It's Cam here. Just wanted to walk you through a model that I've recently built, and pretty excited about this one. It's a construction draw model that actually shows your true loan to cost. Oftentimes, when you're using debt to fund a development project in real estate, the interest, because the developer is often tight on cash throughout the entire duration of the development until the property sells, what happens is that interest is actually rolled up or capitalized, depending on um, where in the world you are. There's slightly variations on the terminology. So anyway, I've built this quick model and wanted to share with you guys. So let's just take a quick glance at the overview. And of course, I'm going to make it free to download on my website, www.lotusglobalassets.com. And as it says here, helps to determine the actual loan to cost ratio. It's probably more useful for a lender who wants to, closely monitor their actual exposure and cap their exposure to a given development project, making sure that if they are going to be rolling up or capitalizing the interest, that it gets capped at a certain loan to cost, and that loan to cost, because the interest is added on to the outstanding balance each period, is not breached, is not surpassed. So it is going to require just a really basic understanding of Solver as well, which I'll just quickly show you. It's literally a two-step process. And here we go. So here's the model itself. We're going to start off with some pretty common aspects in that you're going to have to input some of your variables. The main variables in this model are going to be your construction funding requirements, the timing of the actual construction draws, and so on. So this may be sort of the inputs of your S-curve projection of your cash flows for this development project. So here we've got a pretty large outlay at the very beginning, which is likely the land purchase. We've got the actual construction draws here. So once that's done, that's going to get you to your actual total construction cost without the interest reserve or without the capitalized interest. You're going to want to go ahead and put in your expected sale price, the expected sale date, and your interest cost, and away you go. So pretty standard, actually. I'm just going to go up here and freeze these panes. There we go. So what we're going to be working towards is a 60% loan to cost with the interest reserve, or with the capitalized interest. So again, you've got your typical construction costs, and you move down to the equity section. And by the way, this model accounts for having just one tranche of debt. So it'll get a little bit more complicated if you want to add in, say, mezzanine layers of debt. So for the moment, though, this model allows you to work with having your equity tranche and then your senior debt tranche. So initially, based on, if we were to just work through this in a typical fashion, you'd say 60% loan to cost of the interest reserve. This is how most models are done, and we'll see in a few seconds that it's not entirely correct. And so the whole purpose of this is really to calculate the true loan to cost. And so at our beginning equity balance, you've got your equity requirements, which is basically your construction draws, and of course your remaining balance left to be used. And you'll see that, as is expected, equity gets used up first, not until, call it a year down the road that we actually start to use the debt that we're given. If it were to be made slightly more realistic, what would be happening is that you'd have some non-utilization cost. And what that means is just that during this period here, the first, call it 10 to 12 months in this model, where you've had the funds from the lender committed, you will be charged a fee for not utilizing it. And then you'll be charged a higher fee for actually utilizing the funds. And the reason being is just that it's effectively money that the lender has committed to lending, and therefore there is a cost that they're incurring to hand that out to you in the form of an opportunity cost. And so they do need to be charging, in most cases, some sort of a nominal non-utilization rate. We'll ignore that for now, though. So after the equity has been looked at, we then get into your debt balance. Debt balance is going to be the before we factor in the considerations for the capitalized interest. So you've got your beginning balance, you've got the actual debt funded, which again isn't going to kick in until about a year down in this particular development. You've got your remaining debt balance, and then your cumulative debt balance owing. And you'll see what's happening here. You've got your capitalized interest, and so what's happening is that the cumulative debt balance owing is added to the interest cost, and that's rolled over into the next month, hence your compounding effect of the actual capitalized interest. Beneath here, we've got your revenues, your actual sales proceeds. So we've said that we're going to sell it in February of 2023 for a couple $100 million post disposal costs. You've got your debt repayment. Your debt repayment is going to be your capitalized interest plus the actual debt that's been funded. The actual net proceeds. And then down below here, we've got the unlevered and your levered cash flows. You multiple your actual profit received and so on. And so what you'll notice is that we have 60% as the loan to cost without the interest reserve. But then what's happening is because the interest is getting compounded and added on to the outstanding balance of the loan, as I mentioned before, the true loan to cost, so the exposure that the lender is taking on this particular developer, is going to be higher because the balance that was initially advanced in the form of debt actually grows because of the accrued interest. And so what you want to do is, in order to get this currently at 61.2%, if we want to get this down to the actual 60%, maybe because it's part of some debt covenant, we need to be back solving. So actually means is that the developer is going to have to pony up some more equity. And this is actually also useful then for the developer, because they're going to need to know how much more equity do we need if the lender is going to actually, abide by the letter of the law and hold us to this 60% loan to cost with the capitalized interest. So this is where you're just going to have a basic understanding of Solver. And so we're going to go to up in the top menu, data, click on Solver. I've already inputted these, just set up here. So what it's going to ask for is it wants you to set the objective cell. So what's the cell that you're trying to accomplish a certain value of, or to minimize or to maximize, to basically optimize here. And so the cell that we want to have a certain output for is C7. Pardon me, it's going to be C10, because what we're actually trying to do is set this cell to the 60% loan to cost, the true loan to cost. We want to set it to a value, a particular value of 60%. And the way that we're going to do that is by, in the model, changing one of the input variables, and that's going to be your loan to cost without the interest reserve. And so we're going to be changing cell C7 in order to get this to back into the 60% true loan to cost. And that's it. Pretty straightforward. All you've got to do is click solve. And that's popped up. We're going to go ahead and just select keep the solution. And so what you'll see now is that the actual equity that's needed by the developer is 60.6 million. If we were to just reverse that back out and see what it was before. So let's just redo that. Let's say it was 60% before. So you only needed, the developer would have needed about 58, just shy of 59 million. If we then go to solve this, let's just quickly pull up solver again. We'll run it. Now they need 60.6. So about, was that $1.5 million extra? $1.75 million extra worth of equity that needs to go into this development project, because there's going to be capitalized interest. So really it's kind of a trade-off. Now you're just paying extra for the benefit of not having to pay on a regular basis. So again, you don't have any cash outflows because your interest costs are getting capitalized. What happens on the back end though is that when you go to sell, obviously then you're going to be repaying a higher debt repayment with the capitalized interest than if you had been paying all along on a regular monthly or quarterly basis, whatever the case may be. And that's basically it, guys. So hopefully this is helpful. Again, feel free to download this, www.lotusglobalassets.com/resources. It'll be on the resource library page. And let me know in the comments or shoot me an email if there's any updates or improvements that you'd like to see on this model. That's it. Thanks very much, guys. Take care.